Okay, good afternoon, everybody. It's really, really amazing to be here with you guys today. Thank you so much for the opportunity and the invite. And I think the VIPs today is everyone sitting there. My name is Veruschka Pekeur. You got it. It was basically like 99% there. It's just the 1% that is still coming. So I'm just looking at the clock because I can talk and talk and talk. So let me just get myself into structure. I thought today, actually, the memo is just to share my biggest business blunder, my biggest business mistake, and that was hard because I've made so many mistakes in business. You know, singling out one is actually, it's really difficult when you have to choose one mistake that was like actually that turned your life around and that you learn from, because it's one thing to make a mistake, but learning from it is something else, and getting up from it is something completely different. Like Risha has mentioned, I'm a chartered accountant by profession, and I am the founder of Enlightco Chartered Accountants. So we're an advisory firm, basically specializing in financial and strategic management. And that's the story. How everything happened, it doesn't really matter. But I want to start today just to share this quote that it blew my mind, because for me, I looked at like a few interpretations of the quote, and I didn't feel it. Like, it didn't make sense to me. Like, for days I was sitting and thinking like, okay, you know, when you are an auditor, you want to analyze everything. I was thinking of, no, man, it can't be that simple. But it basically is just a quote that says, the same boiling water that hardens the egg softens the potato. It's not the environment, it's actually what's inside of you that matters. And for me, I'm like thinking, come on, that egg, it could have been scrambled, you know, it could have been a fried egg. It was put into boiling water. The same with the potato. Ek hou van slap chips. It could have been slap chips. It could have been mash, you know, it could be for potato salad. There are so many things that the same thing can become. And for me, it really comes down to potential. And that was the biggest mistake that I made in my entrepreneurship journey, was to let the potential that I knew I had inside of me die a silent death. So basically what happened, I was a few years in business. I was listening. Wait, you were saying you were 30. I'm thinking, wow. Wait, we were 30. Okay. It's not that far away, but like, like when you live. And it was a few years that I was already in business. And I think like everything went well. And you know, like when you study, I always remember, like, you know, matric, people come to your school and they tell you, be this when you grow up. You know, they bring these people and they always say, okay, they're going to come and basically encourage you which career path to choose after school. And I remember all the people that they brought that were CAs, they only spoke about money. And they just said, like, no, choose this path. You'll be sorted. Like, you know, you'll have a secure future. But no one really mentioned, like, the work that you're going to be able to do one day, like what you're going to be doing on a daily basis. And obviously, okay, not obviously, for me, the CA journey, it took a while. It took me 3 universities to get to that thing. So it was something that I think that's where I learned like what it is to persevere and to pursue something. So already that was inside of me. You know, we never quit. We keep on fighting. You get to the end result, like no matter what. Listen, it's not like that in business. That is what I learned the hard way. You can spend 5 years at university, and I mean, I studied finances, so you would think that's an easy thing to do when you go into having your own business, but it's so different because your designation doesn't make you an entrepreneur. I know they have a lot of courses now that specifically focus on business development, but I don't think anything really prepares you on the inside for becoming an entrepreneur. So yeah, I was on my amazing journey of fighting it out. And really, you know, in the beginning, when you start your business, the excitement. I don't know if there's anything that can compare with that thing in the beginning. You know, it's almost like it's us against the world, but it's only you against the world. It's not an us. It's just, you know, you wake up in the morning and you're like, I'm doing this, you know. Like all you see is I'm seeing the clients, I'm seeing the contracts, I'm seeing potential. All you see is potential. But potential is not your reality. So potential is everything that's a thing that hasn't come to being yet, or it hasn't manifested yet. But you know that it can become that thing. And I think the journey between potential becoming your reality and what you dream of is literally just what you put into the action. And I did that, like I did the part where you put action to it. You fish. You know, if you don't fish in business, I don't know actually, do you really want to be in business? Because the pride, it must die already there, because you are becoming a beggar for business. Not a beggar, but you pursue, you know, and like nothing just happens. And sometimes when you are the technician, so the technician would be the person that maybe like, you also mentioned like you studied to show yourself approved, right? So within that field, you get more experience, you get the qualification, you pursue all those things, you have everything on paper, it looks good. On paper, you're just a technician. You just know how to do the job. Do you know how to get the business? That is not the same thing. Like, it's not the same thing at all. And for me, my biggest mistake that I made is like I really lost everything in this pursuit, and I was also very young when I started my business. And you know, I don't think there's really a right time to start. Other people, they wait until they're a bit more established, then they feel, okay, now it's the time to go out. It doesn't really matter. It really just matters like why you actually want to do this thing. And yeah, so I did that, and for a few years, it actually went really well. Like I felt for someone my age, like, yes, girl, are we doing this thing, you know? I was just like, okay, we're running, everything is happening, the contracts are coming, the clients are coming. You know, it just felt easy. It just felt like, this is so within what I'm supposed to do, you know, everything. If I just touch or pursue, it happens. And then suddenly nothing happened. There was nothing, guys. Like, you know, we were talking actually with a friend the other day, and she was saying nothing of nothing is nothing. You can't give from nothing. If you don't, you know, people will sometimes ask you, okay, how's it going in business, right? And I would say, good. But there was nothing, you know? And I think, like, especially today where it's like this time of everyone saying you must manifest things into being and speak and everything like that. Listen, you can lie and just say, like, no, business is going good, you know? But actually, you know, like, you have no clients, you have no income. Like nothing is happening in your business. And that's literally what happened to me. Like there was a place where nothing was happening in my business. Like obviously I was working, and I want to encourage you, if you want to be an employer, be a good employee. You know, sow that seed already as a good employee. And I always had like that good employee mindset, but I never had the I'm now the employer mindset and the business owner mindset. And I always just focused on what I can do good. And what I could do was be a technician. I could do the work. I couldn't run a business. I can confess today and say that, like, I just went in it because I would just say like, no, you want financial statements? Come on, I can do it in my sleep. Bring it on, you know? Like those were easy things for me. But that doesn't build a sustainable business. And to really cross over from someone who can do the work into a mindset of someone who can sell the work is not the same thing. And it's also not just becoming a salesperson, because you can employ someone to just handle your sales. But so my biggest mistake, I would say, possibly, let me just give you a little bit of background. Everything was going well, and suddenly there was just dead. Like, it was just a point of death. And I remember, like, I lost my office, I lost my employees. I wasn't even 30 and I had to retrench people. Like, that conversation, like at the time, and these were my peers. So I died because it's family, like, they're not my family. Don't become family with the people. But I'm just saying it was someone else's livelihood. So no matter how much you distance yourself from your employees, they're still people, and it's someone's livelihood. And then I became the person who had to take that away from them. And that was truly something very difficult for me. So in that time, I had to let people go that worked for me, that I knew, like, they bought into my vision. That is painful, because as a business owner, you have a vision, and you want people to buy into your vision. You want people to feel what you feel. Even if they go, they must be like, it's enlightened, we're doing this. You understand? And I really believe, like, I had such great people that worked for me who understood the vision. I could count on them. They could get the work done. But I had to let them go because I didn't have money to pay them, and I didn't have clients to actually sustain the business anymore. And in the time that was the time when obviously I lost the people, I lost the place, the office had to go. Be careful with agreements. I'll share that with lessons learned as well. Like, the office had to go. But more than that, I think you do get used to a certain lifestyle, especially if you start working before you become an employer yourself. You have bills to pay. Let me tell you, if you want to start a business, there are bills. You need to pay things, and on a monthly basis. So those bills, they didn't go away. If it's something that you entered into a contract, there's an obligation for you to keep on actually paying something. So if nothing is coming in, that is gone. And yeah, obviously I lost the lifestyle I was basically able to afford at the time. And I don't know if you know, but that is a big thing, because you can get so used to certain things, You used to, you go to the till. Now you must now a business person. You just swipe. You're just like, okay, I can afford this, like, I can do this. And something else that also happened is I lost my car. Like, my car was repossessed. And when you get to a place of repossession, I think everything, when you lose it, it's fine. But when something gets repossessed, the effect it has actually on your credit record is horrible. So you were this person who could just go, and you can go to the bank and say, man, give me a loan for this. And they would just be like, okay, girl, you are trustworthy, we can give it to you. And then all of a sudden, that's not there anymore. And like that can usually become such a place of safety when you have access to finance that's not dependent on the government. I'm just going to say it because, it does take long with them. But if you're in the position to get it for yourself, whether it's through you as an individual or through your business, it just does make life so much easier. So when that isn't there, the hustle really becomes a different story. And I remember the effects of that, and the biggest mistake, if I could put it into one thing, was actually the fact that they usually say, and I do business plans, by the way, but they usually say no, you must have a business plan, and I actually don't like it to do it if the people don't give their insight, because I think it's the most personal thing that you can do actually for your business, because it really incorporates your vision into it. But I didn't still care about stuff like that. Sometimes I can be very impulsive. I just did the thing. I just went for the money, went for the, just started to fish without having a proper plan. And the biggest thing that I did was I didn't monitor the growth or the failure, and sometimes you don't put an amount to it. You don't put an amount to the stage that you're in right now. And I'm not just say that because of accounting. I'm just say that because of real life in your business. Like, you need to know, like, what's your position financially of your business. And for me, I think I stopped even looking at my position financially in the business and just got into this hole because all I could see was debt. I never put the debt in the thing that is my favorite thing on earth, would be an Excel sheet and just do a plan and, a solution, because that's what I do. But that's the biggest thing that I lost. And because of that, I think like things that usually would come easy for me, like doing the actual job, I couldn't do it anymore. Like, all of a sudden, I became a bad technician also. I really now thought, there's nothing happening, so I'm failing as a business owner. But I also then started failing as a technician, like the work that I once loved and I was confident in, like I could do it like quickly. I couldn't do it anymore. Like, I couldn't do the work anymore. Like, nothing made sense for me anymore. It took so long to get something done. And at that time, I was the only person left. So if I'm not doing the work, nothing is getting done. And I think it took me a few years where I had like 2 clients at the time, and literally 2 clients at the time. And they could pay for my rent and they could pay for me to eat. So, I think like no one actually just knew how deep it was, because you get so good at lying. Like, not like you don't have to, but it's just like also you don't want to let someone into the truth, And like the truth of the matter is like you're not even honest about how bad it is. Because when you put how bad it is on paper, where you really say, girl, you owe 500,000 rand, you understand? That's a different story, as in saying, I owe this person, I owe that person, It's just like, I owe them. How much do you owe them? Like, what's the state of your business? So to the point where you're saying, I'm almost 1 million rand in debt, I can only pay rent. I can only maybe buy food. Like, I remember this story. I'm just going to share it. I see my time. So I'm a born-again Christian, and in our church, it was COVID. And I remember at the time I was a home cell leader. And it was like on a Wednesday morning, and they asked us, we had like prayer, because obviously now you can't meet in person, so we had prayer online, and I was the one leading prayer, okay? So there was no load shedding at the time, but load shedding was still a thing, and it was winter, and like where Kimberley is, like the sun sets a bit later on this side of the country. It's now not like in Springbok, but it's still late. And I was like excited. I was like, I'm praying tomorrow morning, everything. Listen. So I wake up the prayers at 6 o'clock. It was like when I woke up, I'm like, okay, like I'm ready, getting everything together, all of that. Boom, the electricity is off. And it's not off because the government decided it's off. It's off because I couldn't buy electricity. And now I'm the one leading, and I'm like, guys, like this morning, we're just going to light a candle. Let us just get into the spirit and light a candle, just have, this vibe. But actually, really, like, I didn't have money for electricity. And in business, you have like 3 people, maybe 2 of them are family, who you can say, send me 20 rand electricity. I'm just being honest. You know, when you must, because 20 is like the minimum amount on the F&B app. I could ask for 10, but you're not able. So in that moment, I couldn't ask for someone to send me 20 rands electricity, but I'm like, listen, this prayer, it must continue, you know? And anyway, so that was just one thing where, you know, sometimes you try to hide from people, like how deep you are in this hole that you're not getting out of. Because if you have to be honest with them, you have to face the failure. And it's easier to not face the failure. It's easier to just keep it to yourself and say, everything is going well. You know, but when you're really honest and you say, but you know what, brah, even if it's one person, this is truly what is happening. And that's a few months after that, obviously that's when my car also got repossessed. Like I just couldn't do many of the things anymore. I remember like when I actually could afford clothes, there was a time that I was like, no, you know what, I'm going on a thing. I'm not buying any clothes. I'm going on a clothing fast at the time. And but that was for real. At that time, I could buy it. But, you know, I just decided, you know what, I don't want to do it. Like, I just want to, it was for another reason that I decided, you know, no clothes. But then I got to a place where really, for a year, I didn't buy clothes because I couldn't afford it, you know. And I know people would say, but you were always wearing clothes. Yes, because you have 3 people and 2 of them are family members, and they'll probably make sure you have a new jacket or whatever for the year. But for the whole time, I was not able. And I'm saying this because I am a CA, and at the same time, that was my reality. And like sometimes you just think like it will never happen to you. And I don't think it was because maybe I wasn't able to get myself out of the situation. It's just because on the inside, there was so much shame. You know, like there was so much shame because now you're telling yourself, but you studied so hard. If you look at that time, I thought to myself, I can just get a job. Come on, like this is so easy. Let me just get a job and live a normal life and be okay. It's not a big deal. But what really is the thing is like what you were created for. And ultimately, like the same thing with the whole boiled egg thing and the data that was often, whoever put it in the boiling water had an idea what they wanted it to become and what they needed it for. And that was where I got to in my blunder when I was like all out in the open. I remember my mentor, who I ignored, never do that, but I ignored. But this is the thing, you know, and especially if you're a person of faith, don't be stupid. Don't just pray. Do not just fast. Do not please do those things, but please, they will not. The money won't come just by doing those things. Like, then you must rather decide to become that full time. But if you are someone in business and you're not active anymore, that means you're not in business. If you're not in the arena, if you're not still fighting, then you basically quit. And I quit, and the defining moment for me, and you must know I quit for years. Like I think it was like for 2 years that I was just eating and paying my rent. And I was just like so drained, like this thing can drain you like emotionally. Like I was just so hopeless. Like I didn't even want to think. Because I can think. I think I have brain cells to think. But I didn't even want to think. You know, you didn't even want to think of a strategy, which, funny enough, is today my passion, is strategy. And maybe it was something that I had to like completely get to the point of how do you get yourself then from this place, out of this place. And 3 things happened. Firstly, I went to my mentor and I confessed, and I'm like, listen, this is what's happening. I lied to you about what's really going on. Because I know if I tell you, you're going to tell me, call 3 people, you know, those things. You're going to tell me to actually do the work, and I didn't want to do the work because I was just dead on the inside. So I told him, listen, this is what's happening. The second thing that I did was I met a fellow fighter. So I met a fellow entrepreneur. And when I heard their story of what they went through, that encouraged me to the point where they shared like when they were at that space and how they got out of it. That encouraged me to kind of like, okay, there's hope. Because I was feeling hopeless. I just needed some sort of hope. And someone sharing their story with me gave me hope. And then the last thing that I think probably got me out of it was really just a moment that I got to where I realized, like, I don't know if you know, if you guys read any books from Miles Monroe, but anyway, so I remembered like just what he said, like the graveyard is filled with potential, you know. So in the graveyard, there's so many dreams that died, but they dead with the people. We'll never see them come to life. They died with the people. Potential for great businesses, they died with the person. And I really felt like I'm staring the death of my potential in the face. And I have to ask myself, like, am I also going to be one of those stories where you get there and they say, here lies Veruschka. She wanted to do A, B, C, D, E. And she never did them, you know. And there had to be a resurrection of my potential and the dream that I got from God and the vision that I have for my business, because I truly believed that is birthed into your heart for a purpose. And purpose is the thing. You'll never find full fulfillment if you don't live out your potential. Like if you don't actually try to see your potential come to life. And the last thing that truly happened was my mentor, I told him the truth. And he just asked me, Veruschka, is there still a pulse? Is there still a pulse? Yes, you're dead, but okay, now that you tell me, is there still a pulse? Can we work with the pulse? Can we do something with the pulse? Just tell me there's still a pulse. And that day, I think everything changed for me, because I realized there's still a pulse, because inside of me was still the potential. I was still alive. The potential is not dead. There's still a chance for me to move forward. And I'm ending with the 3 things that I learned actually from the lesson. The 3 biggest things that I learned from that is having your own business is, firstly, unless you register a non-profit, it's for profit. It's for profit. Don't get it twisted. It's for profit. It's not so that you can just eat and sleep and wear nice. It's for profit. It's for pleasure. It is for pleasure. I don't think if you're a business owner and you're not having fun, rather just get a job, because it will drain the life outside of you. It is for pleasure. You have to enjoy it. It must make you come alive, you know. When you get that client, you must want to pop, I don't know what, but something, you know, just to say, well done, I got the deal, you know. And the last thing is, it's for purpose. It is for purpose. And yes, I get it. Like we all have people we need to take care of. So, but your purpose has to be beyond just looking after your family. You know, it has to overshadow all of those things. Like, what's the impact of your business on your employees, on the community, on the economy? Like, it's for purpose. There's something that your specific business is birthed to achieve on this earth. There's a purpose for it. And why I'm saying it's for profit, and please hear me. Profit can be calculated. I don't like projections, but it can be projected. But more than anything, profit has to be pursued, you know. And you can't sit with a great business plan and you're not doing anything. You don't have a strategy. You're not really making the calls. You're not getting into the network. You're not in the arena. You have to be in the arena. And when I realized, like, what's my purpose? And that's a personal thing for each and every one of you. You know your potential, but what's the purpose of your potential? Your potential is for a purpose. It's not just so that you can be listed on the JSE one day. You know, there's a bigger part of it, like, apart from that. And even with it being for profit, you have to, and coming from an accountant, I can't believe that's the one thing that I got wrong, but you have to. Like, I met someone, and he used to irritate me because he always asked me, so what's your goal for the week? And I'm like, brother, we are thinking of a goal for the month, but now that I'm resurrected, I legit have a goal for the week. Like, what is it that you want to achieve this week? Like, that thing that you put if your profit, and I'm not saying your revenue, if you decide this year, I want to make 100,000 Rand profit. Okay, how much are you making this week? In a month? In 3 months? That will get you to a total of 100 by the end of the year. You have to calculate every single move that you make, and you have to monetize your potential. If you're not registering a non-profit, monetize that potential. Like, what is the potential of your business? Put an amount to it. What is the potential? What do you think in your lifetime your business can achieve? What's the Rand value of that? And then also with it's for profit, what's the value of your company? Apart from just profit, like the value of your company. Are you doing things to increase the value of your company? Those are things you can call me for. Those are the services that we provide. We don't have to discuss it now. But I just want to end by saying, like, in front of me, I see a room full of potential. And there was once a time where I was willing to give up on myself and my potential and what I and my business and life could potentially be, only because the environment that I was in, like, everything was negative. And to be honest, the negativity was not because people were trying to be mean. It's things that I brought up on myself. And in your control, you can be destructive as a business owner. It's not necessary. Get the help. Be honest with someone. Get a real mentor in your life. Even if you're honest with one person for your business, that is fine. But just be accountable to someone other than yourself so that they can know what's truly going on. Otherwise, you can remain in a hole for years. You can remain on just paying bills for years, and you'll never fully live up to your business's potential.